Clue number one, I'm not going to use the indicators, and I'm going to wear these at all times. Clue number two. Been a long time since I used one of these, but this is clue number three. Right, so these are arts and crafts scissors, but just for this stupid video, they're going to be hairdressing scissors. And yeah, that's right, I've bought an Audi TT.
Oh, look at this. What are you, wiping the windows?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. That's nice and shiny.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
So, engine is out, obviously, you've seen that come out, and then I didn't record in the meantime with the interior. Now I've got a box of goodies down on the floor. So we've got basically like the seat kind of mounts, the original brackets and seat mounts, these like really heavy kind of runners and stuff. So yeah, that's all kind of cut out. I measured that up yesterday on some real crude scales, which got over here. Everything's kind of just roughly, I'm not going too serious on it, but I think there's about 20 kilograms of metalwork that's been cut out. Obviously the original heater system's gone. I'm going to just put a small race one in just to demist the windows, and obviously some of the wiring's been gone through. So I'll show you the interior. It might be a bit of a shock, but there ain't much of it. So door cards, I'm going to try and get some for the door because I do want to retain kind of the electric window switches because I'm using it on the road. So obviously the ideal scenario would be to polycarb the windows, but with that it's really easy to break into on a road car. So I'm going to keep the electric windows. It's obviously a lot better for getting your takeaway through the window and stuff than trying to get it through a tiny little square hole in some plastic windows. So I'm keeping those. I have removed, obviously with the loom, I've removed the central locking stuff. So the central locking motors no longer work. The audio has been took out. I've just got to pass the wiring back through the door. So there's no wiring really other than ABS wires, which I'm keeping them because obviously I'm going to be using it on the road. So it's one of the things you can't take off. And then I've got rear lights at the back. Obviously all the aerial stuff that originally on the Lupo and Lupo GTI, but possibly the other Lupo. There's a big load of wiring that normally comes down here. And that, mad as it sounds, it goes up there, up across the roof, all the way to the front for the interior lights. So the interior light, the aerial, and a few other bits and bobs go down that side. So a lot of the loom's been taken out. It's very, very basic in that now. So I'm going to run a dash top. I need to put a cage in, but I also need to repair kind of a few bits where I've mangled spot welds. Now that's just me not having the right spot weld drill and seeing how kind of flimsy that is. Ignore the bad trainers, these are garage trainers, but yeah, it's like a real flimsy floor. So I'm going to have to kind of go around and just re-weld any bits I've gone through, which isn't a problem, but I can't do it now because I've got fuel lines in and a fuel tank, so I need to carry on stripping a bit more down. Real butchered over there, but again, it's one of them things I can repair. Obviously welding's not an issue, so I can get all that sorted out. But without the seat runners in, it now means I can mount the bucket seats a lot lower. I'm also saving a lot of weight because measuring the CDS tube that's going in between works out that I've probably, by doing that, I can mount the seat lower and save about 3 kilograms, which doesn't seem a lot. But the GTI originally is, well, this year is 2001, and it's on there as 980 kilogram, which is under a tonne anyway. Obviously, I'm going to be putting a cage in and a bigger engine, which is another 60 kilograms on the engine. So that puts me kind of over a tonne. So anything I can now remove, obviously all the interior, all the metalwork and stuff, is hopefully going to get me under a tonne again. And hopefully going to get me under a tonne by quite a bit. Because obviously, like, say 265 horsepower, if you're under a tonne, you can then have power to weight of like 300 horsepower. So it goes the opposite way. Obviously, if you're heavier than a tonne, then your power to weight ratio decreases, which means obviously you've got less power to put down. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm keeping some creature comforts, obviously power windows, and yeah, a small heater. That's about it. Everything else is full send.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
So back in the garage with the Lupo GTI now. It's changed since I bought it. Obviously, I bought it as a normal car, stripped everything out, tried to sell a load of bits, dealing with all the mongs and morons on the Lupo pages. Oh, I'll give you 50p for it. Oh. But I had some tramp rip me off. So yeah, if you've seen any of my adverts now, it'll all be collected stuff. Hence why there's a pile of SH1T over there. So yeah, this is the car. It's obviously 1.8 turbo. The Audi TT out front is going to be a donor for it. So I'm going to flip the camera around and show you what I've been up to. I've been making a roll cage. Was going to document me doing it. Problem with that is there's a lot of swear words involved. There's a lot of me bending stuff wrong. So it is what it is. But basically, I've done a roll cage in proper ROPT 510 material, which is, if you don't know, it's like the prop CDS for roll cage. 44.5mm, which is 2.64mm wall. So yeah, it'd be decent if I hit like a lamppost or something, I should be walking out of it. And it hasn't cost a massive amount. I think I've used probably about 500 quid in... My order was 670 quid, and I've got loads of it left. Probably about like 480 quid, say, for a full cage to my spec, which isn't too bad. And then I've got a shed ton of material. Would have cost a lot less if I'd done it right the first time. But it's one of them. So yeah, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you what I'm up to. Excuse my red nose, it's absolutely freezing in here. Right, so this is where we've got so far with it. Now, door bars, you'll see, they do line up perfectly. It's just weird when you look on a video. They always look different heights. But basically, I've gone for single door bars on the... I kind of aim to keep the weight down because my whole kind of consensus with this is trying to get a really good power to weight ratio. So I'm aiming at like 280 horsepower from the engine. And then if I can get it under a tonne, obviously that increases your power to weight. So trying to get near 300 power to weight ratio. I know it's not going to put the power down. I have got, behind all that pile of rubbish, I have got a O2M with a Quaife limited slip diff. It's been a rebuilt box. Picked that up for 800 quid. So hopefully that works. Hopefully that will help put the power down a bit easier. I know it's going to spin, but at least it'll be more predictable. And then when it does lock up, either it's going to chuck a load of cogs over the floor, or it's going to go like stink. Or probably go like stink for a few seconds and then chuck a load of cogs over the floor. I don't know, God knows. But yeah, cage is pretty much done. I've got to put some gussets in. Dash bar, simply because obviously engine conversion. It's a big old lump to have at the front. So if I hit kind of a barrier wall or something at like 120, last thing I want to do is have an engine on my lap. So that's kind of in there. I'm going to run some gussets up the side. I'm not sure whether I'm going to run some gussets down kind of on the B-pillar area yet. Might do some up top on the top bars, just because of obviously if it ended up upside down, which is probably highly unlikely, but you never know. The bar as well is also as far away from the driver's head as possible. So that's kind of the main thing for using it. For the few miles I might do on the street or the trip to Nürburgring, I kind of want to make sure that I don't have to realistically wear a helmet all the time. I know you should before anyone goes on there, but it's that far away. Like this seat would literally have to rip out of the mounts for me to be able to hit anything, because it's really, really tucked up under there. So bear in mind my head's like here. Very short, so that's a bonus in some ways. Rear harness bars and intolerances, so I don't obviously need to cross the harnesses. And then the other thing I don't like with Lupos is a lot of the cages are built into this section here. Really don't understand why they are, because obviously it's a separate spring and shock platform, and the chassis rail is this piece here sort of goes off at an angle, hence why mine's welded. It's obviously only half on the chassis rail, and then obviously it goes to like floor skin, but it's a lot more structural there. I really don't know why someone would put it into here. Maybe it's because they want the harness bar further back, I don't know. I mean, I'm not knocking any cages, but it's just I've wanted it into the chassis, and I wanted it welded in as well to obviously give a bit more structure. So there we go. As boring as it is, that is where I'm at. Hopefully it will start livening up now. I'm going to start swearing at the engine conversion. That mount's done, the other mount's done. The reason I've kind of left it at this stage is because I wanted to check clearance of that gearbox mount, because I've had to chassis, notch the chassis very, very slightly on this side for the gearbox clearance because it's 6-speed. But as you can kind of see, even if one of the mounts goes and that's absolutely swinging off everything, it's not touching anything. So yeah, notch is perfect on that side. The left-hand side, which is the driver's side, you don't have to notch, you just have to kind of relief cut this kind of surplus piece here, a bit further down, just 2 relief cuts, knock it back and weld it back up. That just gives you clearance around, so you might be able to see it actually, just gives you clearance around this bit here. So this mount here, you can see down there, hopefully I'll just about make it out. That yeah, that's going to give me a bit more clearance around that section, so that's fine there. And then the only other issue I've got at the minute is the cam belt cover near the master cylinder. Now it doesn't touch, and obviously once I rotate it forwards there's more of a gap, but at the same time this whole engine can shift over a few mils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pack it out very slightly, move it across and make the rear gearbox mount. So once the last mount's on, it shouldn't move at all. And that's my experience with these mounts. They're really, really solid.
One eternity later.
We've got the engine mounted in, solidly mounted. As you can probably see, I'm moving the car and not the engine. And the reason being is because we're using these Beautits, which are the Vibertechnics engine mounts. So I've used the ones for a Mark IV platform. So it's the same for your Mark IV Golf Audi TT. They come with kind of all the billet kind of adapters that fit your engine mounts. I've removed the adapter on this side. It's just 2 kind of, I can't remember what they were, like M6 bolts, I think, from memory, or M8. Yes, I've removed 2 of them, and then it gives you a flat piece to work from. So I can then fab up a bit to attach to the 6-speed gearbox, which is an O2M, which I'm using. So yeah, that's kind of how I've done that side. And then obviously a flat bit of plate, which is 5mm plate welded all the way down there, and then a plate underneath which holds it up, and then 2 captive welded nuts, but still room to be able to pass the original wiring underneath, which is just dangling around at the minute. So that's how I've done that side. The other side, I've used this part out of the Audi TT, because obviously I had one, so I just cut it out, and I've lifted it up quite high. Now the reason I've done that purposely, because I wanted to kind of OEM style height. And by what I mean by that is, usually when you use the Lupo adapter plates and the conversion brackets and stuff, your engine sits really low. And it's usually a lot lower than the subframe. Now this is pretty much very, very slightly higher. It's probably hard to see because of the lighting. Let me just get a light. So yeah, you can probably see where the bolts are for the subframe. So you've got that one there, and the back of the sump, if I have it level, is basically in between the 2, but just very slightly higher. So in theory, this could be slammed, as the Scene Boys would like to do. I'm not going to do that, but could be slammed on the floor with a chassis notch if you wanted to do that, and that sump's not catching. And that's kind of the main thing. I'm doing track runs, so I'm not going to have a lowered car, but at the same time, I don't want to lose a sump on a track, especially a Nürburgring, because that's going to be very expensive. So engine's kind of in a really good place. There is an issue with the ABS, with the 225. The ABS pipes are in the way of the tip pipe if you're running a Badger 5 really big tip, which is what I'm using. You've got an issue with these pipes going to be in the way, because obviously the turbo inlet's there. Now, you could make something up and bolt all the stuff in, but I'm just going to move these pipes. I'm going to move them back nearer to the rear wall and just remake these ones here. A lot of people doing ABS delete. I will be doing that when it's purely track car, but while it's still on the road, I'm going to keep the ABS, obviously for legal reasons, and because if someone pulls out in front, you kind of want to be able to turn while locking brakes. So yeah, that's kind of the reasoning for that. Additionally, yeah, the servo, a lot of people go with a stubby servo, but I've got kind of clearance on the GTI one with these mounts. It should not, say the car's moving way before the engine moves. I don't think it's going to touch, and I've just got to notch the engine over very slightly with a crowbar anyway, but there is clearance there, and obviously inside the cam cover, the belt sits further back, so it's probably about 10 mil there in all honesty. So yeah, that's the engine bay done. It doesn't sit that low at the front, but obviously there's a lot of kind of coolant and stuff to go in, and then obviously I'm going to be putting on coilovers anyway. So interior's done. Sorry, the engine's done. The interior, done some gussets down the bottom, just there, just more kind of to tidy that section up, because when the dash sits in, it would have just been massive gaps there. So lower gussets, and then the top gussets, we've got some welding in. Up here, I've also welded to this part under here, which has firmed up the roof quite a lot, which is a bonus. And then, yeah, interior of the cage is how it is. So I'm going to probably cut the video here. I'm going to work out these drive shafts, whether any of these in any combination are any good. If not, then I'm going to have a quick look online, and if I still don't find anything, I'm going to go down a custom route. But I'm going to do probably a more comprehensive video on wiring, because a lot of people are scared of what's in this box here. And I'll be honest, the Audi TT stuff has got shed tons of wiring, which is not good. So I'm going to probably tidy up the loom a bit, explain kind of the pins that I need to do, and basically how to work it with a petrol Lupo. So yeah, do your likes, follow, subscribe if you can. Recommend this video to people, even if it's just to bore them for a bit. But additionally, yeah, I'm going to do some more informative videos hopefully going forward. So yeah, cheers for watching, and yeah, hopefully catch you on the next vid.